Alright, so I chose to do my discussion on 9 Disney princesses. So it says, I took a random sample so each combination of N individuals has an equal chance of being selected. I am using 9 of the top Disney princesses who are Belle, Ariel, Cinderella, Tiana, Mulan, Pocahontas, Anna, Elsa, and Merida. I hope I'm saying that right. I want to draw a simple random size of N equals 2 of population for it to be equally drawn. I did not spell that right, but okay. So in sheet number 2, I set up my combinations and possible outcomes. So as you can see, I have all 9 of my princesses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have all, actually, this is 8, so I should change this. So I have all 8 of my Disney princesses, and it's made so that no one is with the same possible outcomes. So I did mine on brown hair, and for over here for the possible outcomes for Belle and Ariel it's 0. For Belle and Cinderella it's 0. For Belle and Tiana it's 0. For Belle and Mulan it's 1. For Belle and Pocahontas it's 1. For Belle and Anna it's 0. Belle and Elsa is 0. And Belle and Merida is 1. So for the total possible outcomes, I furthered it and decided to go up until down to Cinderella to see how far we could get with the possible outcomes. And we only have, as it's shown, we only have one outcome that has up to 2, and that's Cinderella and Elsa. Actually, that is a typo. It's Belle and Anna with 2. So next over here, I just copied and pasted my possible outcomes chart to do the combinations and probabilities. So what I did was I took my minimum number and my maximum number, which is 0 and 2, and I had 1 as my median, and I broke it down and added up the total number of amounts of princesses that had 0 for having brown hair for combinations, which was 9, and I had 11 for 1 and 2 for 2. So out of all of my combinations, out of all of my outcomes, I had 22 altogether. And for probabilities, because it's 22 outcomes, out of 0, there's 9. So I did 9 over 22, which is a 41, 0.41. And then I did 11 over 22, which is 50.50. And then I did 2 over 22, which is 0.09. And then I have my 1 as my overall. So over here, I broke it down into trials for simulations to see to get the random numbers to see what is the outcomes of these. So in these, I use the formula that was given to us, and I use 1,000 times rand parentheses, and I just got a random number like that, and I use that for each model. So the ones that are highlighted in red are the ones that's considered the lowest numbers for each trial, and I ended up just making the table right next to it so it won't be hard to figure out. So for 1, there was 0 for the amount of princesses that had brown hair. So as you can see, Pocahontas and Rapunzel had the lowest numbers, but between those two of having brown hair, neither one of them had brown hair, so it's going to be 0. And down here, after doing 30 trials, my minimum was 0, of course, and my max was 2. So for my standard deviation, I just took I did this formula, STDEVP, and I just highlighted my X row, and then you just press enter, and that's the number that I got for my standard deviation. And for my average, I basically did the same thing to get my standard deviation. So I just did this. I highlighted the same information, press equal, and I got 0.7. So down here, this is my X and my probability. So 0 for the amount of outcomes that I had for 0 was 40%. The number of outcomes that I had for 1 was 50%. The number of outcomes I had for 2 was 10%. And 3 is my number so that my histogram can look fine. So out of 30 simulations, for 0, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 trials, 12 outcomes for 0. For 1, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I have 15 outcomes for 1. And for 2, I have 1, 2. Okay. 1, 2. Actually, I have 3. Typo. So, just to make sure that there are 30 outcomes, what I'm going to do is sum these up to make sure that it equals 30. Alright. And just so you can see that this is equivalent to the table down here for X in probability. So, 12 over 30 will be 40%. 15 over 30 will be 50%. And 3 over 30 will be 10%. So I use my probability chart to create my histogram. And, I did this. And basically, I use my standard deviation to put my triangle in place so that you can see where it balances off with the combinations and everything. And for this one, I did it a little differently. So basically, I did another graph earlier that explained it a little differently. But I think that's it. But yeah, that's my project.